one that is like putting together and taking a look at how our water is safe, how we've already protected it. He's been on PERB. They don't like him there because it doesn't cost us any money that way. But boy, if we get Cal going, we get a UV plant, man, they've got money. Here you go, Scott. Woo, go Scott.
Today we are sending a message to our elected officials that we don't want to change the Bull Run water system and we want to keep our open reservoirs. We don't want any treatment. But today and in the past they have not been listening. Today that all changes. They're going to listen to us now. This is just the first step in getting their attention. We want to send a message to all of our elected officials to take immediate action and stop this EPA drinking water regulation. That is forcing us to treat for a public health problem that does not exist and provides no measurable public health benefit. What action is that we want them to take? There's only one action, and that's a congressional waiver that exempts us from this regulation because we do not need it.
Yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
It's simple, it's cost-effective, it's long-lasting, it's permanent. It's the only solution that we have at this point. We do not need to move forward with this regulation.
That's right.
The community calls also for action from the Council to stop all Power and Water Bureau funding for this EPA regulation. We don't want to spend 85% rate increases in the next 5 years like we've spent 47% increases in the last 3 years.
It's our water. We should be able to do with it what we choose.
Exactly.
We're not the government. Our water.
We own the water here in Portland. Look at your water bill.
We want to keep our reservoirs open because the sun helps in natural disinfection, and the toxic carcinogenic gases that would stay in the water if we had covered reservoirs. The open reservoirs allow those gases to be removed efficiently and effectively. Otherwise, they will end up in your houses and your businesses and your schools. We don't want covered reservoirs. We do not want added treatment by ultraviolet radiation because it can generate formaldehyde and other toxins that would end up also in your drinking water. We do not need any additional treatment. The system has worked for over 100 years and it needs to be kept as it is right now. We've had no public health problems and we need to continue down this road.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. Don't give in to the fear.
So what actions do we want you to take? We want you to write the congressional delegation, Senator Wyden, Senator Merkley, Congressman Blumenauer, and Congressman Waldman, and tell them we do not want this regulation. We do not need it, and we want the waiver, and we want it now. They can do it, they should do it, and we're going to tell them they have to do it.
We want the waiver now.
We do want the waiver now, and I want to thank you all for taking the time for this valuable regulation that we need to stop, and your valuable time to stop this whole process, and tell the council and tell your delegation we want it stopped now. We want the waiver. Thank you very much for being here today.
Beer will be more expensive if it's 85% increase in water prices.
Yeah, how much are they going to have to add on to make that up, I wonder? 50 cents a bottle?
Before everybody leaves, I want to lead a chant too. I enjoy poking the finger in the eye of these politicians.
I do too.
And I think Randy Leonard is a real weasel.
Yeah!
So here's my chant for Randy Leonard here, okay?
Awesome!
Well, it's a two-part thing. I'll do the first part, you do the second part. Randy Leonard, you're not listening. Bull Run purity is what you're missing. Here we go. Randy Leonard, you're not listening. Bull Run purity is what you're missing. Randy Leonard, you're not listening.
Bull Run purity is what you're missing.
Randy Leonard,
You're not listening. Bull Run purity is what you're missing.
Commissioner Fish, you're not listening. Bull Run purity is what you're missing. Commissioner Fish, you're not listening. Bull
absolutely. From an outside.
We want a waiver! 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 Waiver!
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Why are you wavering?
We've applied for a variance. We're in the process of getting a variance. So you don't want me to answer. You want to have a reasonable conversation, I'm happy to stand here and talk to you.
These folks say that Berkeley's office is telling
I was asked the question, I want to answer. We have applied for a variance from the federal government to treat our water. Why are you doing that? This is what happened. Well, you're not letting me answer you. I've applied for a variance, and we believe that we are going to get a variance, but it's up to the federal government. A variance. Forever. You're not being. Some people are not telling you guys. That's why I came out here to explain you the fact. We've applied for a variance. We're in the process of getting it.
We don't want a variance. We've been telling you that since day one.
The community
has said that they want a waiver. You have gone down the variance.
I don't want to interrupt you, Scott.
He's taken 3.5 years to go through this variance process and wasted millions of dollars for no benefit, and he's going to continue it through the rest of this year.
He told me no chemicals would be added to the water.
That's not true, because during the process of ultraviolet radiation, formaldehyde is generated.
That is not true. That is not true.
You know that it's from the EPA documents.
Absolutely not true.
It is from the EPA
Absolutely
documents.
not true.
Are you a scientist?
You have nothing to
The only
say
reason
about
that these folks
you
are
have
here
no
is
basis,
that they hear.
You have no basis to say anything about chemistry or microbiology. You have no
He
basis.
thinks that he knows
The
best.
only way that they can get all of these folks here is by telling them things that aren't true.
You're not qualified to talk about chemistry or microbiology.
So you just want to shout me down and you don't want to hear what I have to say.
If we're getting a variance, why are we building? The community has already heard what
You've interpreted for them
You're
what
going
I
to
said.
spend $1 billion for a problem that doesn't exist.
If you let me
decrease public health.
Would you guys like?
That is our money, not yours. If you would put from your pocket, you will not spend it. That's
I
our
will
money.
respond to all that if you don't interrupt me and quit yelling.
We heard plenty from
Well,
you.
you're talking over me because you don't want me to tell people the facts.
Because you're not telling them the truth.
People are telling you what we want.
That's why.
The people are telling you what we want. We're telling you we don't want that at all.
Then let me talk and then you can react. There's two things that I want to make clear to you. Some of the folks here, including Scott, have said, I have never met with Senator Merkley to ask for help. It is not true. I've gone to Washington, D.C. to meet with our congressional delegation. I've met with Senator Merkley across the street. He's been very helpful. And the fact is that we have applied for a variance, and we expect by the end of this year to get a decision, and we think we can get a variance not to have to treat the water.
I think the water's pure. It's 100 years of pure water.
We agree.
And I think we're being ripped off by corporate America, like the Koch brothers. We don't want to be ripped off. We want Randy Leonard to stand up to the Tea Parties, the Koch brothers, and say our water's pure. Back off!
Let me just tell you. Let me just tell you. Can I hold that up?
Ask him this.
Let me just answer that. I agree that our water doesn't need treatment. We have spent over $2 million trying to prove to the federal government our water doesn't need treatment. We've applied for a variance. We believe we're in a very good position to get the variance. So we all agree. We work with the federal government to get an extended timeline as far as we can, and in fact, it isn't until 2021 that all of our work needs to be done. During that time, we have also applied for a variance, and that variance process we are going through as we speak, and we keep succeeding at every stage the feds give us. We succeed. We get approval for everything we've done at each stage. By the end of this year, there'll be a final decision issued actually by the state of Oregon. We anticipate winning that variance and not having to build the treatment plant. So this is going to get a little technical, but there are two aspects that the federal government's LT2 rule covers. One is treatment. So if you all want to listen, I'm happy to address these questions if you'll listen. One is treatment. We've applied for the variance to get a permission to not build a treatment plant. We feel we're going to win that. The second is covering the reservoirs. We applied for a variance to not have to cover the reservoirs, and the federal government told us there is no variance or waiver available for covering the reservoirs. So what we're doing is building a replacement capacity for the Mount Tabor reservoirs. Then the future of the reservoirs can be decided by the residents, which could include filling them with water.
The variance process has been a failure. We've been doing this for several years and spent millions of dollars. It's a failure. You need to admit that. The variance is renewable every 3 years. It's not permanent like a waiver. We want the waiver. It'll keep our open reservoirs. It will keep us from having to treat a treatment plant. We want the waiver. The variance has failed. Enough, Randy. You've got to quit telling these people the wrong information. You've got to quit that now, and you've got to go for the waiver with the congressman. It's up to you and the council to make the move to Congress and get this thing going. Give them the direction that these people are asking for. Go to Congress and ask for a waiver. Quit screwing around with this variance. It has failed.
Let me respond to that.
Let me
respond to that.
Merkley says he hasn't heard from you.
Merkley has not said he hasn't heard from me. He said he's told me personally he's disappointed that some of you are saying that. I have met with him personally.
Show us on paper.
Why don't you let me answer?
Show us on paper.
The variance process has not been a failure. In fact, every cent we've spent, according to the EPA, to get a variance so far, they have said we have succeeded with their criteria to get a variance at every stage. At every stage. So the things that you're being told are not true. Met with Senator Merkley. I talked with Senator Merkley and asked him about having legislation introduced in the United States Senate so that we would not have to cover our reservoirs.
He went, let me finish. Let him finish.
Back up. Hey, control yourself.
Senator Merkley, and he will tell you this, and he said this at public hearings, at my request, went to the chair of the committee, Senator Barbara Boxer from California, who chairs the Senate Environmental Committee, and said, I want to introduce a law to give a waiver to the city of Portland from having to cover their reservoirs and treat the water. She said to Senator Merkley, who told me she would not give a hearing to that bill.
So
there would
fight
be
it.
How do you? You have to use the legislative process. You have to. And Scott, hold on. One more thing. So listen to me. I filed a lawsuit. Let me finish. I filed a lawsuit and hired a law firm that Scott Fernandez and Floyd Jones helped pick hire to 2007 to fight the regulation, and we lost.
$1 million.
The bottom line, Randy, and you know this very well, the EPA and Congress in the Safe Drinking Water Act does have a provision of waiver. You can ask for that. It will trump everything that you've said today. It's a very simple process if you go for it, which you have not gone for that. You have no proof that Merkley sent that made that comment to you. It was supposed to be on paper. You've never produced the paper that showed that.
Well, he's going to answer it. Don't let him.
Happy to answer that. I had a conversation with Senator Merkley. Senator Merkley has told Scott and others about the conversation. I asked Senator Merkley, the only way you get a waiver is to have Congress pass a law giving a waiver. Senator Merkley told me there is no support in the Congress to get a waiver. What we are doing and continue to do is pursuing a variance to not have to build a treatment plant, and I believe we're going to win.
If your plans are to run for mayor in Portland, you might do really well to stand up to the EPA in this, in the fact that, well, I mean more so. I know what you've done because I've been following this so closely for a long time, and I admire you for what you have done. I mean, not everyone would have done that.
Thank you.
And that's. But you talk about your ancestors, throwing tea in Boston Harbor,
right.
and that is what we're kind of hoping you can find a way to do, because we all realize that, or a lot of us realize that the EPA was really quite foolish in trying to pull this over on Portland.
I agree.
And so if you somehow decide you're, not going to run for mayor or you are going to run for mayor, either way, you kind of have a chance of increasing your
But I can't politicize. I can't politicize what is a very technical issue. I have to try to win, and as this demonstrates, it isn't always sexy to go through the processes to win because people don't understand them. And so I've been going through these very technical processes with our scientists, with the EPA, with the county health officer, and others to get us to the place we don't have to build the treatment plant. And I believe we're going to win. I believe that.